She simply said, "Don't take my clothes," but what he revealed transformed everything forever. The shop was quiet, except for the soft hum of the sewing machine, an almost lullaby in the enveloping silence. Emma's fingers trembled as she threaded the needle, a task she had mastered long ago but now felt insurmountable. The remnants of vibrant fabrics hung like ghosts around her, each piece a fragment of a memory that weighed heavy on her heart. Her husband, the brilliant tailor who had dreamed of a thriving business, had left her with his legacy, a jagged patchwork of hope and obligation. And then there was Lily. Brilliant but introverted, her daughter often lost in her sketches and quiet musings. Emma caught a glimpse of the delicate girl, seated by the window, her pencil dancing across a sketch pad, an oasis of creativity amidst their turbulent waters. Yet, beneath Lily's quiet exterior, Emma sensed an anxiety mirroring her own, a fear that their humble shop, once a beacon of craftsmanship, now felt like a weight dragging them both into an uncertain abyss. A shift in energy jolted Emma from her thoughts as the door swung open. The glamorous designer strode in, her aura drenched in arrogance. She eyed the shop, taking in the hand-sewn garments draped across the counters like forgotten dreams. "These clothes? They'll never compete with high fashion," she scoffed, her voice sharp as she inspected a delicate blouse. "This town clings to nostalgia, but real style is about progress." Something inside Emma twisted violently. She wanted to defend everything she stood for, but her voice faltered, caught in the web of doubt woven by the designer's scorn. In her heart, she fought the fight of a mother and an artist, two roles colliding under the weight of that derisive gaze. And then Lily, fierce and unwavering, stepped forward. "Don't take my clothes," she shouted, words filled with both innocence and fierce loyalty. The room fell silent, tension thickening like the fabric around them, every pair of eyes turning to the girl courageously defending her mother. At that moment, Emma felt two emotions collide, fierce protectiveness and a crippling vulnerability. The whispers of the townsfolk echoed around her, their respect increasingly tainted with judgment. She was a seamstress struggling to keep the legacy alive, and here was her daughter, caught in the crossfire. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma's insides churned. She needed to reclaim their fate. Yet how? Fighting back tears, she forced her gaze to Lily, who stood strong but with a flicker of fear in her eyes. It wasn't just about her dreams anymore. Her daughter's feelings loomed larger than she cared to admit. The weight of potential success, something she hadn't allowed herself to envision since her husband's death, began to transform into a siren call. But with this urge to step forward came the chilling realization that pursuing this path could fracture their already delicate bond. Emma's heart raced as she weighed ambition against the nurturing instinct that had become her compass. She stepped back into the shadows, haunted by unfulfilled aspirations. Every stitch of fabric she had poured herself into echoed with the cascading weight of expectations she wasn't ready to confront. With each breath, she felt her resolve wobble. The designer's derision prompted her to dig deeper into her late husband's trunk of memories, seeking a hidden strength long thought buried. But as she stood at the precipice of an uncertain future, every moment energized her yearning to reclaim everything: the artistry, the hope, the love she so desperately wanted for herself and her daughter. Yet with each heartbeat, a silent dread hovered between them, reminding her of the cost they might face. An irrevocable choice loomed, one that would challenge everything she believed about herself, about loyalty and sacrifice. The air crackled with expectancy, the path ahead unclear, but she knew one thing: they were at a crossroads. A fierce storm of doubt brewed between them, unleashing an emotional tempest that would irrevocably change their lives. Emma's heart clenched. She could feel the tension coiling tighter, the resolution she fought to find slipping further from her grasp. What would she choose when the moment finally came? Emma's heart raced as she stood frozen in place, torn between the pulsating fear of confronting the designer and the instinctive desire to defend her daughter. The air in the shop became thick with uncertainty, resonating with the unspoken words that hovered just out of reach. Lily's small frame appeared to grow taller in that moment, emboldened by the fierce loyalty she had for her mother, a spark of bravery igniting a long-lost spirit in Emma. How had she allowed herself to be cornered by words dressed in designer silk? In that instant, a flicker of rebellion awakened within her, urging Emma to reclaim not just her clothes but her identity. Yet, as she gathered her thoughts, doubt gnawed at her resolve. Could she really challenge the status quo? The designer's scorn echoed in her mind, amplifying every insecurity that had festered since her husband's passing. The very thought of failure, a word synonymous with loss, caused her hands to tremble as they clutched the fabric around her. For once, she recognized that the battle was not simply against an external critic, but against her own self-doubt. "Mom, I believe in you," Lily whispered, her voice barely above the hum of the sewing machine. That simple expression of faith whispered directly to Emma's heart, igniting a warmth that softened the edges of her anxiety. It was a recognition that she wasn't just navigating this storm alone. Her daughter was buoyed by the same passion that had driven her husband to create. The designer's disdainful laughter hung in the air, draping each unkind word over Emma like a heavy cloak. But with every heartbeat, she felt the weight lighten. 1,000 ideas rushed to the forefront of her mind. Visions of vibrant designs and a reimagined shop flooded her thoughts. This wasn't just about clothes anymore. It was about legacy, pride, and the nurturing of dreams. What if she dared to blend her craftsmanship with Lily's artistic vision? Emma took a deep breath, her jaw tightening with determination. "You may see it as nostalgia," she said, finding her voice, raw yet powerful. "But it's rooted in art, love and tenacity, and it is alive as long as we are." The soft tremor of uncertainty lingered, but now it was accompanied by the pulse of an emerging dream. To her surprise, the designer's expression changed from disdain to surprise, then annoyance. "You think nostalgia will sell?" she retorted, her bravado faltering slightly at the intensity of Emma's newfound assertiveness. Emma recognized that the designer was simply a reflection of her previous fears, a bold exterior masking a belief that the past had no place in a future of innovation. A flood of ideas surged inside Emma. She envisioned hosting a fashion show right in their tiny shop, merging classic craftsmanship with contemporary flair. Would that bring the community together? Would it honor the legacy she was desperately trying to uphold? The thought made her pulse quicken, each beat resonating with an almost electric charge of possibility. But fear still clawed at her. The designer would not back down easily, and what if she failed? What would that mean for her and Lily? Emma needed a strategy, a plan that not only showcased their talents, but also assuaged her fears. She glanced at Lily, whose eyes sparkled with the same hope she dared not fully embrace. "Let's create something new," she proposed, her voice steadier than she had anticipated. "Let's blend our worlds, revive the old in a way people have never seen before." Emma could feel the warmth of a burgeoning partnership budding with her daughter, a bond intertwined with creativity and possibilities. The designer's laughter now seemed almost distant, a reminder that their journey was just beginning. Standing on the cusp of this decision, Emma faced a crossroads. One path led firmly back into the shadows of doubt, while the other shimmered with the potential to transform their lives. The possibilities loomed before her, waiting for her to take that bold step. And as she opened her mouth to speak again, ready to set in motion the first step toward their shared future, everything felt achingly fragile yet promisingly vibrant. The moment had arrived, but she couldn't shake the oppressive feeling that outside forces still lurked just beyond the door, ready to challenge her resolve at any moment. How far would she go to defend this new vision? The tension mounted. She could feel her pulse quicken, an exhilarating dread tinged with hope. What awaited them on the other side of this wide-open door? As Emma stood at the precipice of transformation, the air around her thrummed with unspoken realities and potential. Each heavy silence reinforced her resolve to disrupt not just the flow of the conversation, but the entire narrative that had been unwritten for too long. She looked at Lily, feeling the stirrings of a partnership that had the potential to blur the lines between mother and daughter. This was their moment, but it also felt like a leap into the unknown. "Let's put on a show," she said, her words carrying the weight of conviction she had wrestled to discover. "A fusion of our styles, something that tells our story." Lily's eyes widened, reflecting a spark of fascination as she considered the challenge. Emma felt the tension inside her ease, recognizing this collaboration as a bridge back to the passion she once had. The weight of grief had made her hesitate, but rediscovering this connection reignited the flame of her creativity. "What if we used pieces I used to love?" Emma continued, excitement bubbling up as she thought of the countless garments that had adorned her past. "We could modernize them with your designs." For the first time in years, she felt like a designer again. Emma envisioned the vibrant colors that could transform familiar fabrics into breathtaking statements, infused with both nostalgia and invigorating artistry. She grabbed a notepad from the desk, her pen moving feverishly as ideas poured out, splashes of pinks and yellows, intricate embroidery inspired by forgotten memories, a mix of vintage aesthetics with contemporary couture. But with every stroke of the pen, shadows of doubt crept back in. What if the shop didn't draw in enough customers? What if her ideas were met with the same ridicule as before? The terrifying reality of heightening expectations loomed heavy over her. "Do we really think we can make this work?" she asked, staring into Lily's encouraging gaze. "Why not?" Lily replied, her youthful conviction acting as a balm to Emma's unsettled spirit. "We can use our life experiences to make something beautiful. I'll help however you need." Emma shook her head in disbelief, feeling inept for wavering amidst the enthusiasm radiating from her daughter. "Lily, Mom, you always tell me to chase what I want. Look, you're doing that right now." Emma found herself mesmerized by her daughter's unwavering faith. How could she have brushed aside the uncomplicated brilliance of children's wisdom? The designer had projected not only her own challenges, but the reflection of Emma's former self, filled with aspirations but succumbed to the perils of self-doubt. Determined to break the cycle, she stood taller. "Let's make it happen then." The enthusiasm in her voice fortified her choice. They would create an environment that celebrated the past while embracing a fresh perspective. But then came the chilling clarity. The designer was still out there, eager to ensure Emma never left the shadows. Emma had given her power away before, but this time would be different. She noted the upcoming week was crucial. The lines between creativity and self-presentation blurred. They would need to practice relentlessly to perfect their vision. The thought of small-town gossip nagged at her, reminding her they were under scrutiny despite the personal stakes. "We need a plan." Emma's heart raced as she jotted down possible designs, marketing ideas, and a timeline. If they were to combat the designer's preconceived judgment, they would need to prepare for a multifaceted attack, not just with fashion, but also with narrative and branding. In that moment, with Lily beside her, Emma laid bare her fears, unveiling a vulnerability in stark contrast to the fierce desire to push forward. The mixture of thrill and terror sparked a recognition of what lay ahead. Instinctively, Emma's shoulders squared as she prepared for the battle ahead, ready to stand as protector, not just of their art, but also their dignity. However, as the ideas began to flow, a chilling realization struck her. Would their partnership withstand the risks of exposure? What if, in the pursuit of their ambition, they lost what made it all meaningful, their bond? With the dynamism of their collaborative fire ignited, Emma found the lines of her identity begin to shift, intertwining motherhood with artistry. Yet lurking in the back of her mind was a question. What price would they ultimately pay for daring to challenge the norms that had defined their lives up to this point? Just as she lifted her pen to mark the paper once more, a loud knock echoed through the shop. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Who could it be? The door swung open, revealing the looming figure of the designer, the smirk on her face broadcasting a challenge. The moment of truth had arrived. Emma felt a swell of determination alongside a flicker of dread. Would they be ready to face this confrontation head-on? The designer stepped into the shop with an air of authority that felt suffocating. Emma instinctively straightened, her body bracing for the impending confrontation. The tension in the room thickened like a storm brewing over uncharted waters. "Emma," the designer said, her voice laced with mockery, "I see you're planning another one of your ambitious adventures. Emma's mind raced. She could feel the weight of her role dissolve as she wrestled with the need to be assertive. This was a defining moment. She was not just a participant in her own narrative, but the architect of a new reality. Actually, I'm working on something fresh. A collaboration with Lily, Emma shot back, the words tasting foreign yet invigorating on her tongue. The spark of defiance ignited a fire within her, stronger than the doubts that had shackled her for so long. Lily stepped closer to her mother, emboldened. We're blending our styles. It's our story now. The chorus of their combined certainty echoed against the backdrop of the shop, an unexpected alliance forming through shared inspiration. The designer's laughter rang sharp. Do you really think the two of you can revive a threadbare legacy? Your little dream will only lead to ridicule. Her smug expression reflected the old fears that once haunted Emma. But now they readily morphed into a crucible in which her newfound resolve was tested. Emma paused, grounding herself in the moment. What had once felt like personal failure was transforming into a testament of exploration. She couldn't deny the dark cloud of judgment looming over her thoughts. Yet perhaps there was power in vulnerability, an opportunity to redefine her worth through authenticity. You may not believe in us, Emma stated evenly, but our experiences inform our designs. We understand what it means to be overlooked, to revive and reimagine. The assertion hung in the air, bold and unwavering, challenging the designer's perception of success. What exactly do you propose? The designer crossed her arms, her skepticism palpable. Emma realized it didn't matter whether or not the designer was genuinely curious. Confronting the naysayer had ignited a process of examining her own motivations and aspirations. Emma took a deep breath, a mental retreat into her past, reconnecting her to her art. We want to create something that resonates with the audience. Each piece will be a narrative, a vessel of our experiences and growth. The thought solidified her vision. Their plan crystallized in her mind. No longer simply a reaction to criticism, it was their tool for self-affirmation. The notion of legacy was transformed from a burden into an anchor, a focal point drawing strength from their wounds and joys. The designer's smirk faltered for just a moment, a flicker of uncertainty emerging behind her facade. Emma seized the chance. You've held power for too long, but it's our time to redefine the narrative. We will showcase our voices, our creativity. Lily jumped in, enthusiasm ablaze. Imagine what we can achieve when we break free from the past. Our show will unveil the beauty in who we are now. Emma's pulse quickened at her daughter's words. This was more than just an exhibition. It was a bold reclamation of their identities. I'm intrigued, the designer said, her tone shifting slightly. But what happens when the dust settles, and you find yourself standing alone in the wreckage of your ambitions? The question struck Emma hard, as if frosted in reality. Would their partnership withstand the scrutiny of failure? Would their bond endure, woven through the fabric of ambition? As uncertainty swirled in her mind, she caught Lily's eye, recognizing that the answer rested not within doubts, but in their actions. It was more than a showcase. It was a testament to what it meant to fight for their place in a world that had overshadowed them. Then we will rebuild, Emma declared, her voice steady. Together. The determination sparked by her own words sparked a quiet confidence. Yet as the designer left, reality settled around Emma like a cloak. The path ahead would be fraught with adversity. With each step, they would have to confront not only external judgments, but also their internal fears. Mom, we can do this, right? Lily's voice broke the silence. Emma nodded, ready to dive deeper into the unknown, where facing the truths of their collective story awaited. But could they sustain this fierce resolve through the tumult of artistic exposure? As they began brainstorming their debut, a sudden realization struck Emma. The world might not just respond to their creations, but to the belief they carried into every stitch, seam, and statement. And at that moment, the door swung open once more, revealing a stranger carrying a familiar logo, the invitation that could change everything. Could they capitalize on this unexpected opportunity, or would it unravel their plans before they had begun? Emma stood frozen as the stranger approached, her heart hammering in her chest. She could feel a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. The invitation he carried glimmered like a beacon amid swirling uncertainty. Emma? he inquired, scanning her face for recognition. Lily? He glanced at her daughter, a quiet urgency in his demeanor. His name tag read Jake, with a logo emblazoned underneath it that was eerily familiar. It belonged to none other than the design house that had overlooked Emma for years, dismissing her talent as unworthy. "What do you want?" Emma managed to ask, her voice steadier than she felt. Jake hesitated. "I'm not here to make you uncomfortable, but I wanted to discuss your collaboration with Lily. I've seen everything you both have done so far, and I believe there's real potential there." His eyes flickered with genuine interest, urging her to take him seriously. Lily clasped her mother's hand, an invigorating mix of hope and anxiety threading between them. Emma steadied herself against that tether. The spotlight had always been elusive. It was a dance of shadows and light she felt they had yet to master. Emma started, but the words faltered in light of the risks that loomed ahead. "We're still figuring things out." His gaze met hers directly, penetrating and earnest. "That's why I'm here. There's a local showcase coming up, and I think your story could resonate with a lot of people. It's not just about the designs, it's about the narrative you bring into them. We want to carve space for voices like yours. It's your chance to tell that story." Emma's breath hitched. The very thing that had haunted her, a yearning for acknowledgement, was being dangled before her. Yet it came scarcely disguised in layers of vulnerability and risk. What if they showcased their work and still fell flat? "What's the catch?" she asked sharply. Beneath her trepidation lay a nascent determination, ignited by Jake's unexpected affirmation. "There's no catch," Jake replied, earnestness etched across his features. "Just give me a week to work with you. If it doesn't feel right, we can walk away." Emma turned to Lily, whose eyes sparkled with possibility. It was as though her daughter saw a pathway emerge from the mist, in stark contrast to the designer's cynical remarks. They had the chance not just to display their artistry, but also to weave an authentic tale of resilience into the fabric of their work. "Look," Jake continued, sensing their hesitation. "You're not alone in this. You have each other's strengths, and I believe that can strike a chord with the audience. You've both faced hardships. Share that. The world needs honest stories. That's how you inspire." Emma pondered his words, mind racing to the countless moments of doubt. The pain of falling short of expectations, the silent struggles etched into her creative endeavors. Could this be the opportunity that turned the tide? "What do you say?" Jake pressed. "Will you let yourselves be heard?" Emma closed her eyes for just a moment, visualizing their collaboration, not just to succeed, but to express a narrative that transcended materialism. She could feel an anchor of resolve forming within her. "Yes," she said, conviction anchoring her voice. "We'll do it." Lily beamed, her excitement contagious, but Emma's stomach lurched. Doubts crept up like shadows, relentlessly whispering the fears she thought she had subdued. What if they weren't ready? What if they stumbled again? But a profound realization took hold. The truth they presented through their designs could be a catalyst for change. This could be the moment they stepped away from the fringes of obscurity, emerging into the light, however precarious that illumination might be. As they finalized the details, Emma felt a shift within her. The past no longer felt like a shackle. It was becoming a foundation to build upon. Each piece they created would echo their journey, intertwined like the fabric of their lives. With the initial excitement waning, Emma caught a glimpse of the designer's mocking face flashing through her mind, a reminder of the very struggle they were attempting to overcome. But Jake focused their attention back into the present, holding the invitation like a promise. "Let's meet tomorrow and we'll start brainstorming ideas. The world won't just see you, they'll feel you." As he walked away, Emma turned to Lily. "This can't be another false hope. We have to be prepared for whatever comes next." With a resolve simmering beneath her surface, she understood it wasn't just about proving their worth. It was about liberating their voices from silence and inviting the world to listen. A query nagged at the back of her mind. Would they be able to capture the essence of their experiences, to stitch together the disparate threads into a cohesive vision? And if the world reacted, would it be with appreciation or disdain? Tomorrow brought mixed emotions. A blend of anticipation and trepidation loomed as they left the shop. In that moment, they took a step into the unknown, a threshold between what had been and what could be, a path fraught with potential, yet teetering on the edge of failure. But as they stepped into the familiar comforts of home, Emma caught a glimpse of her reflection in the store window, a woman not yet defined by her past, but relentless in her pursuit to reclaim her voice. Could they truly transform their story, or would it slip away into the same obscurity they so desperately sought to escape? Emma awoke the next morning with a tumultuous swirl of emotions within her. A thin layer of sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow that seemed to offer reassurance, yet her insides churned with anxiety. This was the day they would meet Jake, the day they would begin the process of turning their ideas into something tangible. She shook off the lingering feeling of dread and turned her focus to Lily, whose youthful exuberance lay in stark contrast to her own tangled thoughts. As Emma watched her daughter eagerly rummage through fabric samples and sketches, she realized this wasn't merely a chance to express creativity. It was a turning point that could redefine their lives. "Are you ready?" Emma asked, forcing a smile as she kept her own trepidation at bay. Lily nodded vigorously. "I can't wait to show him what we've been working on." Their preparations unfolded with a mix of joy and anxiety. Emma busied herself with gathering sketches and swatches that resonated with their experiences, pieces that told their story of hardship, triumph, and the unyielding bond between them. She felt the weight of each design, the unspoken words imbued within every fabric. But as they prepared, Emma's mind raced. She found herself questioning their worthiness yet again. Was their story distinctive enough? Would it captivate an audience? The fear that had gripped her for years tightened its hold. With each flick of her pencil on the paper, Emma fought against those doubts. Each stroke transformed her fear into ambition, an ambition that had eluded her for far too long. The hour approached for their meeting, and the palpable energy in the air was infectious. She and Lily arrived at the designated workshop space, an unexpectedly warm and inviting room filled with bright colors and an array of design inspiration. Yet, amid the vibrant surroundings, Emma felt small, dwarfed by the enormity of the moment. Jake arrived punctually, a determined glint in his eye that held both promise and expectation. Once introductions were exchanged, he immediately zeroed in. "What do you both want to communicate with your collection?" His questions probed deep, stirring something within Emma that had been dormant, ignited by the urgency of the challenge. Emma hesitated. This was the heart of the matter, the catalyst for both their designs. She took a breath, summoning the courage to articulate the life experiences that ebbed and flowed through their work. "Our designs are a reflection of resilience. Every failure, every success has influenced each piece we create. It's about transcending our circumstances." Lily chimed in, her eyes shining with conviction. "And bringing hope to others. We want people to feel connected to our story." Jake listened intently, a shadow of admiration crossing his face. "That's powerful. The world needs those connections, especially after everything we've gone through. Let's make that the core of your showcase." Their collaborative brainstorming session became a whirlwind of ideas. With each suggestion, Emma felt remnants of her self-doubt begin to dissolve. She found strength as she and Lily worked in harmony, building on each other's thoughts like a fabric woven together, each thread intricate, forming a beautiful, coherent story. But as they explored their vision, an unsettling consideration arose. Emma couldn't shake the notion that to expose their realities might also leave them vulnerable to criticism. Could she withstand the scrutiny? Jake interrupted her spiraling thoughts. "Vulnerability often breeds the most authentic connections. Don't let fear stifle your voice, Emma. You have an opportunity to inspire. Don't get sidelined by the negative." His words reverberated within her, confronting her deepest fear. What if this attempt, this leap of faith, was just another risk destined for failure? But a burgeoning resolve stirred inside her. She had spent too long cloaked in shadows. It was time to assert herself, to unveil the depth of her journey. "Let's do it," Emma decided, her voice firm with newfound clarity. "We will share what we've faced and let our experiences guide us." With momentum building, they meticulously crafted their concept, spiraling deeper into creative exploration. The once hesitant artist was beginning to reclaim her narrative, not only for herself, but for those who might resonate with their story. Yet just as excitement surged, the fear of becoming a target for doubt made her pause. Would they trade true expression for the comfort of silence? Her fervent desire to tell their story danced precariously with the fear of exposure. A sharp knock on the door snapped her from contemplation. A messenger had arrived with a sealed envelope, delivering an invitation from the prominent design house whose standards had once felt insurmountable. Her heart raced. "Open it," Lily urged, eyes wide with hope. Emma's fingers trembled as she unfolded the letter, an internal war raging. This dance between opportunity and self-doubt loomed larger than ever. As she absorbed the message, a mix of thrill and trepidation washed over her. The envelope might either bridge their aspirations or cement their deepest fears. In that moment, Emma realized the true weight of their risk was not merely in unveiling their story, but in confronting the larger arena that lay ahead. Would they embrace the invitation, risking everything, or retreat into comfortable obscurity yet again? The air thickened with uncertainty, but one thing became unequivocally clear. This moment could catapult them into a reality they had often only dreamt of. Emma stood frozen, the weight of the invitation pressing heavily within the small room that hummed with possibility. A design house renowned for its daring vision, a place where only the most audacious dreams took shape. Her heart raced, a drum echoing the conflict within her. "Mom, what does it say?" Lily's voice cut through the thick silence, filled with anticipation and a pinch of impatience. She could feel her daughter's eyes scrutinizing her, searching for the same thrill she was unable to summon. Emma unfolded the letter fully, revealing intricate details and deadlines, calling for a presentation unlike anything she had ever prepared for before. It wasn't just fabric and stitching. It encompassed a validation of their story against a backdrop of great expectation. "It's an invite to showcase our work," Emma replied hesitantly. "But it also requires us to really step forward, like putting ourselves out there." "Isn't that what we want?" Lily asked, her brow furrowing in bewilderment. "You always say our story matters." Emma's gut churned at the juxtaposition of fear and desire, the roaring excitement of opportunity twisting into anxiety-laden knots. Yes, their story mattered, but sharing it meant exposing the raw scars of their past. "Sometimes, telling the story is more vulnerable than living it," she whispered to herself more than anyone else. Jake, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward thoughtfully. "That's precisely why it's powerful. Vulnerability is what connects us all. If you can speak your truth, you've already succeeded in creating something significant." His conviction resonated, tugging at the remnants of her confidence which still trembled beneath the weight of 1,000 what-ifs. Taking a step forward, she gathered her breath, gazing into the faces of her daughter and Jake, as if drawing resolve from their belief in her. "Okay." Emma's voice steadied, propelled by an unexpected determination. "We need to do this. We can't shy away from what we've experienced. It's part of who we are." With every decision came a cascade of emotions, yet the fire ignited a spirit she thought had been extinguished. They began to plan their presentation with vigor. Concepts entwined with personal anecdotes flowed from them, driving a deeper connection to the designs. Each sketch became a tapestry cradling their vulnerabilities, turning uncertainty into a canvas bright with potential. As the initial drafts materialized, Emma found herself offering snippets of their journey, the brutal truths interwoven with beams of hope. She could hear her voice growing bolder as she spoke, each sentence layering upon the next like fabric stacked in preparation for a final garment. Yet the shadow of doubt loomed nearby, ready to pounce. Would their honesty resonate? Or would critics dissect the raw fabric of their lives, tearing at seams she worked so hard to stitch together? Would sharing their past grant them redemption, or would it leave them exposed and vulnerable, ripe for exploitation? She caught herself during an intense moment of drafting, stealing a glance at Lily, who radiated a mixture of pride and trepidation. Emma smiled, reassuring herself as much as her daughter. "Let's think of this as a chance to show what we can create together, a triumph over obstacles." With renewed focus, they settled into implementing details, merging artistry and emotion. The fear began to transform into exhilaration, a recognition of embracing the very dangers that had once paralyzed her. The deadline loomed closer. Days turned into a flurry of brainstorming, sketching, and fabric sorting, a cacophony of exhilaration and pressure churning together. But deep down, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that everything was building up to an impending clash, a visceral confrontation with her own self-doubt that would inevitably shape who she became. As they finalized their pieces, a text flashed on her phone, an unexpected message from a late-night talk show producer. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Was she ready to step fully into the spotlight, given that the stage might reveal even more than her designs? "Emma," Jake's voice cut through the whirlwind of her thoughts. "This isn't just the opportunity to present your collection, it's a chance to represent your story. Are you ready to take that leap?" The question hung uncomfortably in the air, her heart racing in response. With her gaze fixed on the laptop where their designs shimmered, flames of fear and exhilaration mingling dangerously, she wondered if she could truly embrace this journey of vulnerability that lay ahead, or if the shadows of her insecurities would overtake her once more. Suddenly, she felt the weight of indecision more intensely than ever, as if standing on the precipice of something incomprehensibly transformative. Would she dare to entwine her truth with her aspirations, bearing witness to the unfiltered narrative of struggle and strength? Emma realized the moment of truth was approaching rapidly, and the clash awaited in the depths of her resolve. Emma stood in the quiet chaos of her studio, the late afternoon light slicing through the windows and illuminating heavy swaths of fabric. A transformation was taking place, not just within the remnants of old patterns and discarded sketches, but deep within herself. The invitation had opened a door to a reality she had long neglected. With each day that passed, the dialogue around their collection shifted from mere designs to something more profound, a narrative that intertwined pain, resilience, and hope. "Mom, can we talk about the social media strategy?" Lily's voice intruded, her enthusiasm evident but tempered by understanding the weight they both carried. Emma turned from her fabric swatches towards her daughter, grounding herself in the inevitable responsibilities ahead. "Absolutely, let's brainstorm," she said, forcing a smile. As they sat amid the chaos, Emma's thoughts raced back to the talk show message. What would it mean to reveal their journey in such a public way? The prospect caused her stomach to knot. However, she recognized that in sharing their story, they had a chance to foster connection, an opportunity to empower others facing their own struggles. "What if we share snippets of our process, like behind-the-scenes clips of us designing and talking about our inspirations?" Lily suggested, tapping away on her tablet. "That's brilliant," Emma replied, her fingers itching to sketch out competing ideas that cascaded powerfully through her mind. "We can show the evolution of each piece, attaching the emotional resonance to the everyday work we're doing." As they mapped out their social media engagement, Emma began to rediscover a sense of ownership over her narrative. Each post would be a call to vulnerability, a window into the emotional tapestry behind their designs, and it felt liberating. Yet, with that liberation came the familiar grip of anxiety. Boldness could attract admirers or critics alike. "Mom, remember what Jake said? Vulnerability connects," Lily added, her earnestness unwavering. That simple phrase unraveled some of Emma's doubts, pulling her focus back to why they were truly taking this leap of faith. They decided to inject personal testimonials that narrated their bond, the shared struggles, and the empowerment that arose from temporary failures. Emma's heart surged with newly inspired passion as she envisioned it, every detail ripping apart the polished veneer of a perfect life, exposing the flaws that shaped their very essence. Later, Emma stood in front of the mirror, practicing her pitch aloud. Her reflection stared back, eyes wide with uncertainty. She needed to visualize herself not just as a designer, but as a storyteller. Could she articulate the intricacies of her journey with authenticity? She closed her eyes, diving into her memories, the late nights spent working, the moments when she nearly gave up, and the sweet but fleeting victories. Each recollection carved a clearer path through the fog of doubt. As she threaded her narrative with purpose, she found piece by piece the courage to speak her truth. The clock ticked ominously, each second marking the approach towards their presentation day. With her heart racing, she practiced stating her purpose and the essence of their designs with conviction. What had once felt like a liability now shimmered with potential, a tapestry of courage fraying at the edges but standing strong against adversity. The next day, she and Lily faced the bright lights of their makeshift studio, capturing their first video content. Emma felt the pulse of something bigger coursing through her veins. Despite the creeping apprehension in her chest, she embraced the camera, committing to share their journey. The first clip rolled, and she conjured every drop of her voice, uttering words that had carved a life out of silence. The mixture of anxiety and excitement blurred the lines, amplifying her determination. Would this emotional exposure forge the connection they sought, or would it unravel into judgment? When she finished filming, exhilaration coursed through her. Each post they shared ignited conversations and support, slowly weaving a community of empathy around them. In every interaction, doubts continued to battle for existence, yet a newfound strength pushed her forward. In the midst of it all, another notification chimed on her phone, a reply from the talk show producer. Her heart hammered as she read it. We'd love to feature your journey and designs, but we need to have a pre-interview to discuss the emotional angle of your story. Emma took a deep breath. Willingness collided with apprehension, igniting a pivotal moment. The time had come to confront her past head-on and discuss it all authentically. In that moment of clarity, she realized that this would define not only their collection but who she was becoming. Would they uncover the strength necessary to face an audience and share the rawness of their narrative? As the unsettling thrill of uncertainty rushed through her, Emma understood this was just the beginning. The question now loomed larger than herself. What revelations awaited when they ventured beyond the realm of fabric into the sometimes unforgiving light of exposure? Emma paced the length of her studio, the walls closing in as thoughts raced through her mind. The crispness of the note from the talk show producer felt like a lightning bolt, igniting fears wrapped tightly around her heart. What if they dug too deep? What if she exposed weaknesses she wasn't ready to confront? Lily walked in, holding a steaming cup of herbal tea. The steam curled up like the gentle embrace Emma desperately needed. "You seem distant," her daughter observed, concern etching her brow. "I'm just thinking about the interview." Emma tried to muster a reassuring smile, but the shadow of unease trailed behind her. "It feels different, doesn't it? This time it's not just about the designs, it's personal." Lily nodded, her fingers dancing nervously on the mug. "But Mom, that's the point. People connect with real stories. Your story." The way Lily spoke breathed life into the very doubts Emma wrestled with. But what if talking about my past only opens wounds? What if I can't articulate the nuances I wish to express? The vulnerability she preached about now felt perilously daunting. "Then let's practice. Let's draft some key points. You'll see, it'll make things clearer." Even optimism carried the weight of her daughter's determination. Setting the teacup down, Emma shifted to the table covered with sketches and swatches, creating an impromptu brainstorming space. Panic churned in her gut as she stared into those unfinished designs, remnants of pain and beauty interwoven. They held her past, the whispers in the fabric, the weight of experiences once silenced. "Okay, let's think this through," she began, wiping away anxious beads of sweat forming on her brow. "What do I want to convey? It has to be authentic, but also manageable." With Lily's implicit support, Emma poured out fragments of her story, losing herself in the process of pursuing her dreams, the failures she had encountered, and the lessons embedded in every stitch. Each memory uncovered a facet of her identity, revealing layers she had layered with fabric but had yet to fully unveil. As they wrote, Emma began to feel a shift. The nausea in her belly transitioned to a simmering intensity. "This is about more than just clothing." She scribbled spontaneously, eyes brightening as revelations came pouring out. "It's about fortitude through failure. It's about transformation. Each collection has been a chapter of renewal." Lily beamed, excitement palpable. "Mom, these are golden. You're not just showcasing designs. You're inviting the audience into a journey. You're stitching together your narrative." Yet, a gnawing voice crept back in, awareness creeping like shadows, reminding her that they would peel back those layers live on air. The vulnerability she needed to embrace also opened her to scrutiny. Was she equipped to handle that scrutiny? As the day progressed, the weight of her anxiety began to shift. Emma framed her past not as a liability, but as a harrowing voyage leading to self-worth. She needed to stand firm on that stage, fiery and resolute, allowing the narratives of pain to intermingle with triumph. With Lily's encouragement, Emma retreated to her mirror again that evening, this time channeling a different energy. She reworked her delivery, using her own reflection to emphasize resilience over fear. Each practice run transformed her uncertainty into purpose. The hour struck. This time, Emma didn't only stand before the mirror, she stood before a reckoning. "Mom, it's almost time for the interview," Lily's voice called out. Emma took one last deep breath and flicked her hair back. A rush of adrenaline coursed through her. Despite the nerves, she felt more grounded. But the moment she stepped onto the stage, the applause ringing in her ears, the electrifying spotlights bearing down, everything slowed. The praise and attention came with an unspoken challenge to redefine her narrative under scrutiny. Could she transform her past, a painful cacophony, into an inspiring symphony? And then the host's first question pierced the air, igniting the atmosphere. "What brings you to share your journey with us today?" Emma felt the moment hang heavy like a pendulum. This was her chance to unveil not just her creativity, but her very soul, to weave together the fabric of her experiences into something cohesive and inspiring. With that breath, she sat on the precipice of transformation. Would she find the strength to fully embrace the chaos and turn it into a story worth sharing? As the first question echoed through the bright lights, Emma's heart raced. The answer lay in how deeply she was willing to dive into her truth. In that heartbeat, she understood. This revelation would define her, marketing and art converging into a singular purpose. The moment of reckoning had arrived, but would she emerge as the storyteller she was meant to be? Or would the shadows of her past linger to darken her narrative? Emma sat under the warm glow of the studio lights, a nebulous blend of anxiety and exhilaration swirling within her. The talk show host's eyes were glued to her, waiting for her to share her story. She inhaled deeply, shaking off the remnants of doubt that still clung to her like a second skin. This was the moment she had prepared for, the culmination of her journey, a chance not just to showcase designs, but to express herself and take ownership of her history. "What brings you to share your journey with us today?" the host asked, her tone warm yet inquisitive. Emma's heart raced, but clarity washed over her like balm. Here, under the spotlight, she resolved to reveal the intricacies of her life that had shaped her as both a seamstress and a mother. "I come from a place of both struggle and beauty," she began, her voice unwavering as she locked eyes with the camera. "After losing my husband, I felt lost, drowning in the weight of expectations while trying to keep alive a legacy that wasn't only mine." There was a hush in the audience, the collective breath of anticipation encouraging Emma forward. "It was a daunting task," she continued, weaving through the memories of her past, "to pull my daughter and myself out of grief. I had let doubt dictate my reality for far too long, but with every stitch I made, I rediscovered fragments of my identity. That's when resilience bloomed, this notion that every piece I created was a testament to who we are." The host nodded appreciatively, encouraging Emma to delve deeper. "And how did your daughter inspire that transformation?" Emma smiled warmly, glancing at her daughter seated off stage. Lily became a beacon of creativity and courage. She saw beauty in the imperfections of our lives. Her passion reignited the artist within me, and together we began to explore not just fashion, but the narratives behind each thread. With each word, Emma felt a weight lift. She was no longer just a grieving widow, but a storyteller in her own right, an architect of her destiny alongside her daughter. The audience began to resonate with her truth, the air thick with emotional connection. As she spoke about their collaborative designs, she detailed how each garment represented a piece of their journey, how they transformed remnants of the past into originals that reflected their growth. The insecurities that once plagued her hazed into determination, blending with the hope she felt as her story began to take flight. By the end of the segment, Emma could see the shift in the host's demeanor, a respectful acknowledgement of her unique experience. "Your story is truly inspiring," the host concluded. "What words of encouragement do you have for others who might face similar struggles?" Emma held firm at the cusp of this pivotal confrontation, her voice steady with newfound conviction. Embrace your vulnerabilities. Our truths are powerful, connecting us as human beings. It's in the fragility of our experiences that we find strength. Never let shame shroud your journey. The applause that erupted filled her with an unexpected warmth, a reward for her courage. In that moment, the internal battle was won. She had pivotal moments of growth within herself. She had declared her worth, not just as a designer, but as a woman forging a path from pain to purpose. Back in the studio, just after the lights dimmed, Emma turned to Lily, whose eyes sparkled with pride. "Did you see that? They connected with our story," Emma exclaimed, feeling lighter than air as they embraced each other. In the days that followed, the feedback from the talk show was overwhelming. Messages of appreciation poured in, commending Emma's bravery and authenticity. As she read through supportive comments, she felt an invincible sense of accomplishment wash over her. With the social media strategy they implemented perfectly in sync with their designs, Emma and Lily drew interest from not just local patrons, but also investors gauging the potential of their collaborative art. Weeks later, amidst the vibrant yet cozy atmosphere of their shop, an unexpected visitor entered, Jake from the renowned design house. "I watched your segment," he said, eyes bright with enthusiasm. "You've captured the essence of storytelling within fashion beautifully. I want to talk about a partnership that will introduce your work into a wider audience." Emma could hardly believe her ears. This was confirmation of everything she had strived for. They would take their vision to new heights, intertwining personal narratives with artistic expression. As the weeks unfolded into months, the anticipated fashion show came to life, a creative playground where Emma and Lily interlaced their worlds into a vibrant tapestry. The evening arrived, and Emma stood proud, feeling the heartbeat of the crowd as they embraced the boldness of their designs fueled by stories that resonated with them deeply. The fashion show proved to be a resounding success, ushering in recognition and respect for their artistry. Emma reveled in the accolades, her heart swelling with validation, not just for her work, but for the emotional resonance they had cultivated through vulnerability. It was a celebration of growth, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between mother and daughter that drove her to new heights. As the final models paraded the runway in garments woven with love and history, Emma knew she had succeeded in something infinitely valuable, reclaiming her voice and proving to herself that she was capable of not just surviving, but thriving. This was her story, not merely stitched in remnants of fabric, but rooted in the rich tapestry of her experiences. A legacy she would continue to weave alongside her daughter. Emma turned to Lily, a glance steeped in mutual understanding, both aware that the journey had only just begun. They had conquered fear and stepped into their true selves, basking in the light of shared triumph. With her heart lifted by their achievements and solid confidence grounded in self-recognition, she felt like a true artisan, not just of clothing, but of life itself. Now more than ever, she understood. The fabric of one's identity is designed by the experiences we choose to embrace. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it makes a huge difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.